Hello, my name is Seán and welcome to Tech Talk with APHaslam.
The automation controller from Weidmüller. What's the sort of the main difference that you see between the Weidmüller automation controller and the traditional PLC that most industrial machine programmers are familiar with?
Thanks very much, Sean. Yeah, so the Weidmüller automation controller is really an expansion of a PLC, and its main applications are for new and emerging technology. So it has integrated software that's embedded on the device. There's nothing to install, download, manage, and license. It's all included in the hardware itself. So it's definitely a step change in PLC and controller technology, and that is certainly what Weidmüller is pushing into the market.
Certainly from my perspective, what I like around the Weidmüller automation controller is what I see, I suppose, as open automation. And I know that the controller, as we've shown before, comes pre-installed with Node-RED and OPC UA applications. A question in relation, say, to Node-RED and industrial controllers. Many programmers and industrial controls engineers would be familiar with the Raspberry Pi and Node-RED, and very much seen as a kind of a hobbyist type of application. But in an industrial environment, why did Weidmüller pick Node-RED as an application? And then maybe if you just talk a little bit about, well, why is the instance of Node-RED on the Weidmüller automation controller, like why do you feel that's a robust solution for a shop floor machine automation project?
Yeah, those points you mentioned at the start, Sean, I think they are fair points. However, the objection to that is certainly in the early life of Node-RED, it was a hobbyist tool. Home automation is where it got its name and where it grew from. However, it has come on leaps and bounds recently following, obviously, IBM relinquishing its ownership of it and moving it to open source. So it is now fully supported on modern community platforms such as GitHub, where hobbyists, industrial engineers, technologists can develop their own code, test it, and receive critical feedback from the community. So it's definitely a well-versed tool that's robust now for industrial applications. And the reason why Weidmüller chose Node-RED offered the best balance between that community-driven critical development of flows and programming nodes. The fact that it is open source, so that also means there's a benefit to Weidmüller customers and APHaslam customers that there's no charge for that kind of software, but you receive the full functionality, but also the integration into the Weidmüller real-time automation controller side. So it's the perfect interface to bring in real-time inputs and outputs from the process into Node-RED and then do what you need to do with them. And your final point just on how it is suitable for obviously industrial applications would probably be my last point about bringing in real-time IO from the process, the environment, the sensing side, and then what you can do with that. The possibilities are almost endless, whether you might log that data to an SQL database, publish to a cloud environment, publish to a cloud environment on premise, and also log to text files and things like that. So Node-RED really is that step change again from a PLC, and hence why we focus on the term automation controller.
I noticed a couple of models of the Weidmüller automation controller. Maybe if you could just quickly just touch on the differences between them and what you might say is about pros and cons of each. Again, very brief.
Yep, certainly. So the hardware footprint across the three variants of controllers that Weidmüller have today are all the same. The thing that differs is the embedded software or firmware that's on them. So the entry level is the IoT controller, and this solely has Node-RED available on it. So we see it as an IoT gateway, an interface between information technology and operational technology without real-time control. So without the PLC aspect, essentially. But again, the possibilities are still quite large with that. You can read inputs and outputs from other devices used in Node-RED, but you just don't have your programming that you would expect with a traditional PLC. The mid-range is the automation controller, that has Node-RED as standard, but also now brings in some real-time control with functional block diagram programming. So you can actually then create PLC program and logic within the controller alongside Node-RED if you want, but you have full PLC control to control a process or a large factory. And the final controller is the Open Linux automation controller. And this is now moving away from embedded firmware and software to a more traditional PLC programming, engineering software environment. So what we have is a code assist based platform, and this controller is programmed via that, where you have all IEC 611-3 programming languages available to use, and the code assist controller has support for EtherCAT. So you have a high speed, highly reliable field bus to use, supported by established code assist platform for full flexibility.
That's great, Jack. Thanks very much for that.